Imagine this. You have the most powerful navy on the entire planet. 2 aircraft carriers, 8 of the most advanced destroyers ever built, $40 billion worth of weapons floating in the water. And you still cannot win. Not because your enemy is stronger, not because you ran out of missiles, but because your enemy figured out your one weakness and built 1,500 speedboats to exploit it. That is exactly what happened in the Strait of Hormuz. And the solution? A 50-year-old airplane that the Air Force was literally trying to throw in the garbage. Stay with me, because this story is going to completely change how you think about modern warfare. Let's start with the geography. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow strip of water sitting between Iran and Oman, is the single most important waterway on Earth. Nearly 20% of the world's oil passes through here every single day. Now, how wide is it? On a map, it looks like a reasonable stretch of sea. But the actual shipping lane, the corridor where massive oil tankers physically must travel, is only 6 nautical miles wide. 6 miles, that's it. 2 miles going in, 2 miles coming out, and 2 miles of buffer between them. 6 miles of water, and Iran decided to shut it down completely. 3,200 vessels, including 250 oil tankers, are now sitting anchored in the Gulf, going nowhere. The world economy is bleeding $40 billion every single week. Fuel prices are climbing, supply chains are breaking, and every government on the planet is watching this one tiny corridor with total panic. The United States Navy responded with full force. They destroyed or disabled 120 Iranian warships. They eliminated every Iranian submarine, every major surface vessel Iran had built, gone. The Navy didn't lose a single ship, didn't lose a single fight, and the strait remained closed. How? How does the most powerful navy in human history win every battle and still lose the situation? Because Iran wasn't fighting with warships. Iran's real weapon isn't submarines or missiles fired from destroyers, it's speedboats. Over 1,500 of them. Small fiberglass craft, some barely 15 tons. The slowest ones run at 50 knots. The fastest ones push past 70. Each one armed with an anti-ship missile capable of seriously damaging a naval frigate. And their plan, their actual military doctrine, is beautiful in a terrifying way. Send 30 to 50 boats simultaneously from every direction, overwhelm the sensors, force the destroyer to make impossible choices, because here's the math that makes Navy commanders lose sleep at night. An American SM-6 interceptor missile costs $5.3 million. The Iranian speedboat it's shooting at costs $50,000. That is a 100-to-1 cost advantage in Iran's favor. Fire enough cheap boats, drain the expensive missiles, and suddenly the most advanced warship in the world is defenseless. The Navy's standard guns, too slow for 50 targets moving at 70 knots. The fighter jets on the carrier, flying so fast they can't visually tell an IRGC attack boat from a Kuwaiti fishing vessel among thousands of civilian ships. The helicopters, not enough weapons, not enough time in the air. Every single tool in the carrier strike group was designed for the open ocean, long-range, high-value targets, precision weapons. The Strait of Hormuz is the opposite of that. It's a narrow, crowded, chaotic corridor filled with cheap, fast, disposable threats. The Navy brought a surgical laser to a knife fight, and the knife fight needed a shotgun. Enter the A-10 Thunderbolt. The Warthog. This aircraft was not designed for elegance. It was built around a gun, literally. The cannon came first, and engineers built the airplane around it afterward. That gun fires 65 rounds every single second. The ammunition drum holding those rounds is roughly the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. Cost to destroy one Iranian speedboat using that cannon? Under $10,000. Compare that to the $5.3 million missile. That's a 500-to-1 cost advantage flipped completely in America's favor. But the gun is only part of what makes this aircraft special for Hormuz. The Warthog flies slow, around 300 knots during a patrol, and that slowness, which Pentagon officials used as an argument to retire it, is exactly why it works here. At that speed, the pilot has 2 to 3 times longer to visually identify a target. He looks out the canopy. He sees rocket launchers bolted to the side of a boat. He sees military paint markings. He confirms it's a threat and fires. No guessing, no sensor confusion, no civilian fishing boats accidentally targeted. The Warthog can stay above the strait for nearly 2.5 hours with external fuel tanks. It flies racetrack patterns back and forth across that 6-mile corridor, persistent, patient, watching. Here's what makes this situation genuinely unprecedented in modern military history. For the first time ever, 3 separate branches of the American Armed Forces are simultaneously operating over a single 6-mile corridor. The Air Force A-10s fly at 3,000 feet, hunting speedboats and coastal missile positions. Below them at 200 feet, Army Apache attack helicopters launched from Navy ships are picking off any threats that slip through, and the Navy's destroyers hold their expensive missiles in reserve, saving them for the truly dangerous threats, hypersonic missiles and ballistic weapons that nothing else can stop. The Army flying from Navy ships. Think about that for a moment. That's like your local fire department borrowing the police department's helicopter to fight a fire while the ambulance crew handles crowd control. It shouldn't work on paper, but it does. Iran's entire strategy was built around a famous 2002 war game where a retired Marine general used swarm boats to sink 16 American warships before anyone could respond. Iran studied that exercise for years. They built their entire naval doctrine around it. But that strategy only works when the Navy fights alone. Iran never accounted for a 50-year-old airplane with a gun that fires 65 rounds per second showing up at 3,000 feet. So what does all of this actually teach us? Modern warfare isn't won by whoever has the most expensive weapons. It's won by whoever picks the right tool for the specific problem in front of them. The Navy's destroyers are extraordinary machines for the open ocean. The carrier's fighter jets are extraordinary for long-range strikes, but a 6-mile shipping lane packed with 1,500 cheap fast boats needed something completely different. It needed an aircraft that was slow enough to see, tough enough to absorb hits, and cheap enough to fight economically. The Warthog's cockpit is surrounded by nearly 6,000 kilograms of titanium armor. It can fly home with hundreds of bullet holes in the fuselage. It can land with complete hydraulic failure using nothing but mechanical cables. Pilots have brought this aircraft back from damage that would have destroyed anything else in the sky. And yet this airplane is scheduled to retire. Congress has protected it temporarily, but the window closes. By 2027, the transition plan begins. The question nobody in Washington has fully answered is, what replaces it? Loitering drones with cannons? Modified aircraft adapted for maritime patrol? Or does the Navy finally design its own aircraft built specifically for these narrow, contested corridors? The Strait of Hormuz proved one thing beyond any argument. In real warfare, the equation matters more than the price tag. The right tool, even a 50-year-old one, will always beat the expensive one. If this story changed how you think about naval warfare, then Sea Warfare Explained is exactly where you belong. We don't just show you the weapons, we show you the strategy, the economics, and the real logic behind every major conflict at sea, the stories the mainstream news skips over. Hit subscribe right now, turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, and drop Warthog in the comments if you think this 50-year-old airplane proved every Pentagon official completely wrong. The next video is already waiting for you. See you there.